It is 7 p.m., October 28th. This is Independent School District 832. This is a regular school board meeting. October 28th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call of attendance, please.
Director Goldman? Here.
Here. Here.
Dr. Donna here. Dr. Peterson?
Here.
Dr. Stout is absent.
Thank you. I'm looking for an approval for the agenda for this evening.
So moved.
Moved by Director Doman,
Second.
second by Director Peterson. Any discussion for the agenda? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for another motion for the approval of the consent agenda. Moved by Director Doman. Second by, can I second? I can second, can't I? I'm going to second that one. Second by Director Regan. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are moving on to presentations and recognition. We're going to start with Mr. Collins, presented by Mrs. Gary.
Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Ann Gary. I teach Spanish at the high school. I'm the president of the Mahtomedi Education Association and the chairperson of the Teacher of the Year Committee. So thank you to all the board members and Superintendent Duffrin for having us here tonight to recognize Ryan Collins, our Teacher of the Year. The selection of the Mahtomedi Teacher of the Year starts each spring with nominations made by colleagues in our schools. After the nomination process, each nominated teacher is asked to share information regarding their philosophy of teaching, professional highlights, and what they see as pressing issues in education today. Then a committee made up of former Teachers of the Year reviews the materials that are submitted and meets to discuss the nominees. From that pool, the next Teacher of the Year is selected. I think all of you by now are pretty familiar with that process, but I wanted to go over through it again because how did we get here? In the fall, our local Teacher of the Year is then nominated for the statewide Teacher of the Year recognition through Education Minnesota. So Ryan has been educated, you've been educated. Ryan has been nominated for that process. I am so pleased this year to recognize Ryan Collins as the Mahtomedi Teacher of the Year. He had the fun time of riding on our MEA float during the homecoming parade, which is a highlight, I'm sure. And he has some other things to look forward to this year as he strives to be the Minnesota Teacher of the Year. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ryan. Ryan has been teaching at Mahtomedi Middle School since 2001. During that time, he has taught 6th grade Ancient Civilizations, 7th grade U.S. History, and is most famous for his 6th grade Minnesota Studies course. During his time at Mahtomedi, he has had countless leadership roles, and as you all know, he was recently recognized by you, the school board, for outstanding leadership for his work with developing the curriculum for the middle school success. At Mahtomedi, Ryan has coached, advised, chaperoned, attended conferences, trained colleagues, presented legislation to the Minnesota House, implemented programs and curriculum, and has participated in many committees. He was the planning commissioner for the city of Stillwater for 9 years and has been on the Stillwater City Council since 2019. He is vice president of the Washington County Historical Society Board of Directors. His public service resume goes on, and most prestigious position yet is that he is the insurance chair for the MEA. Took that job after a couple of other people had fun doing that. As you can imagine, as a teacher, Ryan has positively impacted the lives of his colleagues, students, and families. Julie Brown, a colleague of Ryan's, wrote in her nomination statement, "Ryan strives to do the very best in all that he does. He makes connections, and when students come to 8th grade, they love him. Feedback from the students is a huge indicator of educator effectiveness, especially when the students report that the teacher has challenged them, and as a result, they worked hard to achieve and learn. He is an amazing peer and colleague, and Julie says, I am a better educator as a result of working with him. Virginia Mancini, who also nominated Ryan, wrote, Ryan is a consistent leader at the middle school. On top of his stellar teaching, he advises yearbook, and he has really helped shape and guide our middle school success class. He steps up time and time again to do what is best for kids. If any of you have had children who have been in Ryan's class, as I have, you know these words ring true. Ryan has said many times, I have the greatest job in the world. And in his words, he motivates students to open their minds to the stories that history presents. He believes in the power and importance of education and says that's the reason that he wanted to become an educator. So I present to you Ryan Collins, the 2024-25 Teacher of the Year.
Just want to say thank you for the recognition tonight. I truly do have the greatest job in the world, and it's an honor to simply be a part of the team here at Mahtomedi Public Schools. It's the only place I've ever worked. I student taught in Rosemount and applied to about 40 different school districts, and I got 2 interviews. And when Mahtomedi called me in August of '01, I felt like an idiot because they said, you know, can you come in for an interview? I said, would you refresh me of where Mahtomedi is? Because I had applied to northern Minnesota, the Twin Cities, central Minnesota, southern Minnesota. I was willing to go wherever. But truly, the reason that I'm here is because of Mr. Hartman, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Tollefson. I mean, these 3 guys had just a profound effect and impact on me as an educator. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be standing here before you tonight. So I appreciate the recognition and am proud to represent the teachers of Mahtomedi. We're a great place.
Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to say something here quickly, and I'll let the other members of the board share their thoughts as well. When my oldest son was entering 6th grade and he had the opportunity to be in your class, I can truly say that your class was something he will never forget. So very high engagement in that class. The kids have a lot of fun. They don't realize they're learning oftentimes. You make history really relatable. I remember him coming home with a list of places all across the state of Minnesota that he said we had to go and visit because Mr. Collins said we have to go and visit all these places during the summer. So just, we are very fortunate to have you in our school district, and thank you for all that you do, not only for our school system, but just in life in general. You've given back so many different ways.
Thank you.
Director Payne.
Ryan, the first memory I have of you is you coming to the same podium and sharing the trip
Oh,
that you were able to make
Yep.
with your MAIF grant. And I love the fact that you came back and reported to the board, and you really modeled for our students lifelong learning and how you were willing to step out and continue your learning to help and support their learning. So I think that builds on what Kelly just said, because her son benefited from that experience. But I just thought it was so neat how you wanted to come share with us what you were able to do and the depth of knowledge you shared even with us. I remember the slideshow and all the different places you went. And it was an amazing trip, a really good use of MAIF funds. So I really appreciate the way you're a role model in our community.
Thank you. I'm just glad that MAIF was willing to support something like that.
My family will remember you as sending our 6th grader to middle school. And first hour is you. He fell in love with you right away and was such a smooth transition. And he just still talks about you a year later.
Thank you.
I have one comment. I haven't been fortunate enough to have a child go through one of your classes, hopefully one of these days here. But I think what kind of speaks to the impact that you have on the school in general is when I have a house full of like 8, 9, 10 6th grade girls, and they're talking about you. And I haven't had a child pass through one of your classes. I think that speaks to the impact that you're having on the kids. So I think that's really cool. So thank you so much for all you do.
Yeah, Max.
I just want to say from a more personal perspective, I don't have kids that went through your class, but I did go through your class in 6th grade, which is like 6 years ago. And for me, that's pretty far. I was about 12 years old, but I still do remember a lot from that class. I remember doing really good on the final. That was one thing. Second thing, I remember having maple cookies, running maple cookies, and that was the first time I had those. And now I eat maple donuts whenever I get donuts. So thanks for that.
Glad I could help.
Another thing was the maple syrup.
Yep.
First time I had real maple syrup, and now for the last 6 years, we've always bought real maple syrup. I convinced my family and my dad, and now he's addicted to it, so nothing you can do there. And speaking of trips, like Miss Reagan was saying, after learning about Gettysburg and the Civil War in your class, I did convince my family to swing by Gettysburg on our way to Washington, D.C. It was it was a pretty far detour, but they made it. We saw the cannons and everything. I know you saw the pictures. We showed you those. I just want to say it's really great having you as a teacher, and I still remember that, even though it was a really long time ago for me.
That's awesome. I just want to say, Max, it's great for you to be a part of this because the things that you're going to learn here will take you far in life. And working within government and representing people is quite an honor as well. So think about that in your future. You've got a lot of good experience here. Thank you.
I have to jump in too, and I will also reiterate all the things that have been said about just you bringing history to life. I get the opportunity to just pop into your class at it, whenever I'm in the hallways, and you're always willing to have me, and I make it a point of stopping in your classroom because truly so engaging. I always want to just stay, and I always learn a lot. But the other thing, as a parent as well, I always felt like you really knew my child, and that was something for me to have somebody who, I don't know, I just knew you knew him, and it's difficult to do when you have as many students as you have, but I always felt that way, even after he was in your class. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And now we want to take a picture with you.
All right.
So, all right, here we go. You're in the center. That much I know. And then you can do
You just wait.
Oh, I have Max on.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so Max can go behind me. I'm
Yeah,
guessing
behind you.
because
Yeah.
behind you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then get together. Get together a little bit more. And then Ryan, you're supposed to be.
I know, do you want me in my normal spot?
I'm normally over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Sorry,
you
I'm
were
just
normally here,
rolling
but
off. I have a
that's
seat back
taller.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, you don't want me in the back?
I'm going where I'm told. It's
Okay.
kind of the story of my life.
Yep, right
It's
there.
looking good.
Yep.
I think I'm in. Jenny,
Yep.
okay.
No,
I
you're
think
good.
Jenny has to be here. No,
Yeah.
this is good.
This is good.
really good.
This is
Okay.
good.
Okay, I'm gonna take a few at the camera first. And I have my phone. Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Next, we have the MAFE Fall Fund Drive presentation, Mara Winky.
All right. Good to go. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here. This is such a fun board meeting to attend with the Teacher of the Year Award, and it's really an honor to follow that. So, and it's an honor to be here to represent MAFE. And thank you to Director Payne for mentioning a MAFE scholarship. So that was kind of a nice lead-in. So I'm here to talk to you about the Fall Fund Drive. And for those of you who have already participated and made a gift, thank you so much. For those of you that would like to learn more about the campaign, and how you can get involved. I promise this will be painless. So first of all, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what MAIF is. You already know, I'm sure. To support exceptional, personalized outcomes for students. So how do we support Mahtomedi schools? Well, we do a lot in the classroom and outside the classroom to support students and student learning at Mahtomedi. Some examples are we've given away $7,500 for student enrichment. That included the middle school youth night, the DECA conference, high school leadership council, over $20,000 for basic needs. That's to help students and families that need help with classroom supplies and also household supplies. We've given away $51,000 in classroom grants, and that's for teachers to give them new technology, training to enhance their teaching experience, things that directly impact the classroom. We give away money for student scholarships to assist students in taking the next step after Mahtomedi. And then we give away a lot of money for district initiatives. So for example, supporting the district's goal of enhancing digital arts and engineering. Thank you. Some examples of classroom grants that we've given out would be Handwriting Without Tears. That was training for early childhood teachers. Some math intervention materials and STEM activity kits at Wildwood. Ukuleles for music classes at O.H. Anderson. Knowledge Bowl, a curriculum for middle school students, and camera and monitors in the fax room at the high school. So as you can see, we really touch every school, every building in Mahtomedi. And I think I've kind of touched on these initiatives. We also fund some student enrichment and staff recognition. Every year we fund the staff welcome back breakfast, future educators breakfast, the teacher of the year grants, the MAPS team, youth night, just a lot of ways that enriches student and staff experience here. And then the Angel Fund, which I talked about briefly, that supports students and families in Mahtomedi that have other needs outside of just, well, we do back to school supplies, the backpack program, we do healthy snacks and the care closets that we started last year. There's one in each school. And gas and grocery and household assistance for families that need it. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Fall Fund Drive. This is our annual fund drive to raise money to support all of those initiatives that we do. Our goal is to raise $51,000, and I'm happy to report that the entire MAIF board has participated in the fund drive this year. So we have 100% engagement, and they're all putting their own pledges behind the campaign. So we wanted to ask you if you'd be willing to also participate in the campaign. Over the last few weeks, I went out and met with the district staff at every single school and asked them to also participate in the campaign. And we have 35 staff members who are giving through employee giving to the Fall Fund Drive. So that's really exciting to be engaging with faculty and staff here. And so we thought we'd go through some numbers and kind of give you an idea of how a gift would make an impact with the Fall Fund Drive. So when you make a donation to the Fall Fund Drive, if you donate $50, that would support mental wellness resources in our schools. $100 would assist with after-school student enrichment activities. $250 one-time donation would provide professional development opportunities for teachers to bring new techniques into the classroom. And a $500 gift would support innovation in the classroom with a classroom grant. So how do you make a gift? It's pretty easy. I think that you have a MAFE sheet on, maybe in your agendas. Yep, there you go. There is a QR code on that sheet. All you have to do is scan the QR code with your phone, and it brings you to a quick form that you have to fill out, and you can donate once or you can donate monthly to MAFE and in the amount that works for you. And then the cool thing is that there's a drop-down menu that has all the different funds that you can support, and then you can choose exactly where you want your dollars to go. And if you want it to just support, area of greatest need, there's a general fund for that, or you can choose the Angel Fund or a variety of things. The drop-down has further information about each fund, so if you have questions, you can read it there. And that's it. I just want to thank you so much for your time and for listening to my presentation and invite you to participate in the campaign.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to let you know that while I was at the last MAFE meeting, I scanned the QR code. It's really quick. It's really easy. I would challenge us as a board to think about if we could get 100% as well, with the MAFE board giving 100%. And thank you for all that you do for our schools and supporting all the teachers and students. So.
No, it's my pleasure and my honor to be here. Thank you.
All right, Max, it's the student representative report up next.
All right, I'm reporting. First of all, we had homecoming. It was a pretty long time ago from now, a whole, 20-something days. But really fun. I know my brother got a lot of candy. We had a great parade, really great turnout for the game there. Had a lot of fun. More recently in sports, girls soccer won their section game finals. That was a fun game to watch. And they're going to US Bank Stadium tomorrow, and I'll probably be going to that one too. So if any of you have kids, make sure they're checked out. I know Tanner will probably be going to that too.
He already asked for the form to be filled out.
That makes sense.
I think it's 1:15 p.m. tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have the PSAT was taken last Wednesday, so we'll hope our kids did good on that. Powerball. This was over homecoming. This is the girls' flag football. We had a record high of 160 girls. Last year was 90, and the year before was like 50. So we almost doubled our numbers this year, so it's looking really good. We had the athlete visit to the elementary schools. The class of 2025, my class, a bunch of the senior athletes went to visit the kids, have a lot of fun. I know talking to a lot of younger kids like my brother actually met them and had a lot of fun and learned a lot about the sports there. Going back to something we talked about last time, the fun run. We actually raised over $27,000. We met all of our goals, and both elementary schools will be getting movie and popcorn on November 1st. So they're going to have a lot of fun there. Now, looking forward to some stuff, seniors should sign up for the all-night party by January 1st for a discounted rate. I still got to do that, to be honest. Wildwood Elementary is also hosting a new event called Card Sharks on November 4th and 11th from 3:35 to 4:35. I don't think they're gambling. I think it's more strategy skills. I'd hope. And OHA also has their kind of twist on it. They have strategy games going on the October 30th and November 6th and a bunch more dates. I'd check that out. There's also the middle school STEM club, which I can't remember. I believe I joined this club. It got me very interested in STEM and kind of led to my pathway in the high school. Speaking of STEM and MAFE, we tried the new computers. I could run Fusion 360 and SolidWorks on the same computer, and it didn't even make weird noises and crash. So it did that with one of them last time. So that's a really big step up there. Also, there's the school play coming up. The middle school fall play, Treasure Island, is being performed on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I actually remember reading this book in 5th grade and in 8th grade. I don't know why I kind of doubled back there, but it was a really fun book. And my brother was actually in the play last year, Newsies, and I had low expectations because I don't know if he's too good of an actor, but it was a really fun play. And I went there, he kind of blew my socks off with like how good the acting actually was and the songs. So I'll probably be going to that there. Student Leadership Council is now going to be hosting their ABLE. It's their mental wellness day on Thursday, November 2nd, 7th. We split up into groups during our flex time. There's tons of different rooms, and we go to different clubs to meet your needs or games, maybe physical, mental health, all that stuff. Also, kids taking full year AP classes. You need to sign up by November 13th. Don't forget that. I don't know if Tanner's taking any this year, but I know I am, and I have to.
I think you probably need to do that. Thanks,
I
Max,
know.
for the reminder.
And I almost forgot last year, so I got to do that this year. And that's it.
All right, thank you. I don't know how you're gonna follow that, but Superintendent
No.
Duffrin, Superintendent's report.
I feel like I need to have tips for teachers. I know. I didn't include them in my report. I'm sorry. And as always, of course, Max hit a few of my slides, I think. Is this working? Oh, it sure is. Okay. Yeah, there you are. All right. So around the district, we'll have some things that are happening around the district, also some awards and noteworthy events, and then our upcoming events. So we started our a student cabinet. This is a student cabinet advisory to the superintendent. Max is part of this group. And it's made up of students. It was an application process for students to be able to join the cabinet. And we've put together a group of students from across the district. When we talked together, when everyone met, it was clear that we have all sorts of clubs and activities and areas of interest represented with this group. So the idea with the superintendent cabinet is to be able to give me and the directors at the district office some feedback on areas of interest to the students or places where students might want to have their voice. And so we had our first meeting, and we'll report back on what we learned from this student group. I don't know, Max, if you had any comments on participating in that so far.
I just think it was a really good, as I talked to you earlier, the choosing of the candidates was people from every single area of the school. So there's a lot of representation, juniors, seniors, even a sophomore. He's in the bottom left there, Abraham, who I've actually been on student council with for a couple years. It was a fun group. Obviously, we just kind of starting out, but I'm really excited to kind of see where it'll go and what we'll learn from it.
As Max mentioned, homecoming, since last we were together, we've had quite a good time with homecoming throughout the week, including the parade and all the candy, of course. There's a nice video there, and you can see it on social media too, quite a few pictures from that week. Recently, OHA, well, not recently, at the beginning of the month, OHA had their walking school bus. This is an annual event to promote walking and biking to school. And anyone who's been at OHA at the beginning or end of the day, especially at the end of the day, I think you see all the students who are walking and biking. It's quite a few more students compared to last year, so that's been fun. And again, Max mentioned this as well. We do have our girls soccer team is headed to state, and we also have a few cross-country students. 3 cross-country students will also be competing at the state meet on November 2nd. We have a district-wide service project kicking off in November, and I believe last year was the first year of the district-wide service project. This one, I believe DECA is helping to organize this project, and you'll notice that each school will have a different focus for collecting donations to be able to give to families for the holidays. So check that out, and I hope you'll all participate in that as well. This weekend, I attended the Showstoppers comedy event through community education. So Showstoppers is a club that started, I believe, last year, and this was, and they attend different theater performances throughout the Twin Cities, but this one they brought an improv group to the Chautauqua, and I just love middle school kids on stage. I've mentioned that before. And so they did such a good job of getting students up on stage, out of their comfort zone, and just participating. And as the performance went on, they got more creative as things went on. So it was a very fun event. just recently at the Community Education State Conference, the Director of Community Education, Kate Anderson, and our Director of Communications, Alice Seufert, presented on how to implement a community education survey using communications best practices. I'm told there are at least 50 people in attendance, so we got some great reviews. I think we mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. For the second year in a row, the high school did earn a Gold Advanced Placement Award. There are very few schools throughout the state that earn this award, and this is based on the class of 2024 and their participation and results in AP over the course of their time at the high school. A new program that we have in partnership with 350 Degrees Bakery. Eloise Suja is a class of 2021, and she has opened a bakery downtown Mahtomedi. If you haven't been there, it's right next to the Wild Bean. And so there's we have a partnership with her to give a Smart Cookie Award to recognize students and for some good work that they're doing, and teachers can nominate those students and earn a smart cookie. So congratulations to Liz Carlin, our first recipient. Just, you will see in the White Bear Press, we have an article just talking about our portrait of graduate. So if you haven't seen that, I just thought I'd highlight that one. And just upcoming events. School pictures. School pictures were recently too, so happened recently. So just a couple things. I wanted to just point out that Zephyr Learning Showcase on November 12th. Just as a reminder, it's our first one. And then we also have the theater event coming up on November 17th, or 15th, 16th, and 17th. Okay, and that is all.
Thank you. I have to say that's probably my favorite school picture I think I've ever seen. I don't remember the name of the therapy dog at the middle school that this
I
is.
think that one was Riley, right? No, Piper. That one's Piper.
Very cute. Thank you. Let's see here. Next, yeah.
Tomorrow morning, Wednesday?
Yes.
No, tomorrow morning is Tuesday. So
Tuesday.
it's Wednesday
Wednesday
morning
morning?
at the high school. Thanks. Wednesday morning at the high school. There's a breakfast recognizing the students who are winning academic letters from last year. So we've been to this before. If you're able to attend, it starts at 7 a.m. and it's just an opportunity to congratulate them who earned an academic award from last year.
Anything else on that one? All right, next up we have our discussion and information items. We'll start with the board member calendar. Anyone have any questions or anything they'd like to call out about the calendar you have in your board packet? Oh, Director Peterson.
Thanks. Two things. I am unable to attend the Wednesday, November 6th PTO meeting. I've sent out a couple of asks. If anyone could do that for me, that would be great. And then am I just missing it? Can you guys look at this with your eyes? I don't see the PTO meeting that should be there on Wednesday, December 11th. Do you know? Okay, I mean, there is one, it's not there, so there's missing.
All right, so Wednesday, December 11th, you said?
I need someone to go to the November one for me. Please.
Anything else that anyone wants to call out in the calendar? Looks like we have a busy couple of months, lots going on. Next, we are at the second reading of the policies. Do you want to take that?
Sure. So I thought I'd just direct our attention to a couple of the policies. Do we know why we have that noise?
Yeah. Buzzing.
Policy 208, I have not gotten any feedback since the last meeting. I don't think there's anything to discuss unless anyone else does. 506 I believe, so we had a lot of discussion about changing the language, but I felt like when we left, it was, there was an understanding that it was okay the way it was written, unless there was something I missed. So I didn't change anything on 506. 524, if you wouldn't mind opening that one, I shared with you, or I mentioned that we updated this one with some language based on the conversations we had both at the table, and then I did get feedback afterwards. If you scroll down to section 16, cell phone use, it is somewhat the same. I'll read it again. The school board directs the superintendent and school district. Before I do this, as just a reminder, by writing this, you're writing the intent of what you'd like to see the practices and procedures address. So as a board, you're talking about this is what you'd like to see happen as a result of the practices and procedures, or the rules and procedures, those are implemented by the administration and teachers. So the school board directs the superintendent and school district administration to establish rules and procedures regarding student possession and use of cell phones in schools. These rules and procedures should take into account student behavior, mental wellness, and academic attainment. Rules and procedures should help students, this is the part that we talked about, rules and procedures should help students develop the ability to independently use cell phones responsibly and productively prior to graduation from Mahtomedi High School. And then rules and procedures established in each building should be implemented consistently. That was my recommendation or attempt to acknowledge the conversation about high school students needing to learn how to use cell phones before they leave us. We don't, what I understood the conversation to be is if we ban it completely at the high school level, then they are not getting the direct feedback or experience in how to manage themselves. However, it's also the case that within this, it also says the rules and procedures should take into account student behavior, mental wellness, and academic attainment. So I know that the high school staff has been talking about still regulating cell phones and having, like, whether it's having it away during the class period or in a caddy. So there will still be regulation. However, also our conversation had been the idea of having students be able to use the cell phone in a responsible way as they got into high school. So that's my intro to that language. Do you have feedback on that? Nothing? Okay.
I would agree that it, based on our conversation last time, it allows for, obviously, they're going to make the decision at the school level, but the flexibility to show that the needs change throughout high school as students become more independent. Anybody else?
Necessarily put you on the spot again, Max, but you were just nodding along. Is there any perspective you would like the board to know as a student?
There is, and I remember I talked to Ms. Duffrin earlier about this in kind of our pre-meeting before this meeting. But at the moment, I mean, in classes, obviously, kids aren't going to want to put their phones up. They're more resistant to it, and they try to get around it. But then looking at my little brother, he's an 8th grader in the middle school, and they actually put their phones in their lockers. And kids don't seem to try to get around that one as much because they've been doing it, and it's just kind of procedure for them. But in high school, kids have had their phones in their hands for the last 3 years. And now, well, for me, 3 years, for other kids, 1, 2 years, but still it's been a while for them. And so it's kind of a shock. But eventually, if you just, I go walk into a class, I put my phone in the caddy, kids are eventually just not going to care. It's just going to be part of their daily routine. And so I think you're going to have to move through that block of kids that is expecting to always have their phones. But then eventually it'll just start working.
Thanks. Policy 507, I have not made any changes to that one for 721. Policy 806 was the other one we had some more conversation about. There are two places that we put something in. So under general information, we put in here, emergency protocols can be found in the Mahtomedi Family Student Handbook under emergency communication protocols and drills. That's where we will update our protocols, and so directing anyone who might be looking at this policy to go into the family handbook to see our protocols. We thought would be probably the best way to be, I don't know, transparent about our process. So that's part one, and then and we struck the part about its design so that each building administrator can tailor, because we do have some pretty common ways of communicating, and so we don't actually tailor it. We tailor it to some degree, but I didn't want to give the impression that it was everyone can do their own thing, because we do have a district-wide, county-wide actually, way of communicating during an emergency. So that's that part. And then if you go further down, what we had talked about is, though we do not, that active shooter drills aren't necessarily something that we do, and it's in conversations with Washington County, though they don't have maybe have an official. They didn't give me anything official. They did say they agreed with me that wasn't a practice we have. But you had brought up the idea that there are times when we have our buildings used for drills when school is not in session. And so we talked about having just kind of a statement to that end, and then to kind of as the preamble to what's below. So that's what I have there. Is there any comment on that? Okay. Well, that is it for our second reading then.
All right, thank you. So next we're going to move to action items. So under item A, I'm looking for a motion of approval of the donations and grants for September 2024 totaling $8,725.90. Moved by Director Donna. Is there a second? Second by Director Doman. Any discussion? I'd like to add that all donations and grants are greatly appreciated. The use of these funds will be to further the mission of the school district and are used towards the wishes of the donor. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next action item is the approval of the 2025-2026 academic calendar.
So I will speak to this, and then Director Doman, if you want to jump in, if there's anything you want to add as one of the members of this committee. So this academic calendar, we came close to finishing last school year, but we had one area that was that we were working through to make it so that we didn't have so many weeks with one day off was kind of the goal, and in particular it was October. So this school year, October 6th, we had a professional day for staff, and it's in large part to get ready for conferences is one part of that. And in particular for the elementary, for the READ Act requirements, there were some new ways of communicating that we needed to learn and go through, and now have developed those ways of communicating. And I feel as though we could change our schedule around so that we can move the conference prep to the 20th of October and have conferences beginning on the evening of the 20th, and then all day on the 21st. So this allows us to have the days all kind of as one long weekend. We were given the feedback that was a little easier on families, and so that was how we were able to reorganize. Teachers also commented that this might actually be a good change, because all the conferences would be in 1 week, which means that I don't know, the grades would be updated and everything would be kind of prepared for 1 week. And it would be the most up-to-date information for families when they come to the conferences. I think those are all the things.
No, I think everything else was kind of finalized last spring. I think the big takeaway from this last meeting was, to your point, we were able to consolidate the time off into specific chunks. So we're avoiding the random day off here or there, which was challenging for a lot of families that had to find childcare. So I think that was a big win. Spring break is staying the same, so we're still going to be aligned with 9/16 from that perspective. And other than that, I think the calendars reflect it's very similar to what it is this year.
You'll see more of the professional learning days after on a Monday or Tuesday, in part because in previous calendars, we might have had professional learning and then staff would go on break. And then they would have lost that learning as opposed to being able to implement it right away. So that's one of the things that's happened over the past couple of years with the calendar as well.
I guess one other comment is just that the beginning of school, there aren't, again, those kind of random days off. So there's a really good stretch to start the school year, which at least for the elementary families, I think it's great to get them into a good routine for the first essentially 2 months of school.
All right. With that, I'm looking for a motion to approve the 2025-2026 academic calendar.
So moved.
By Director Peterson. I'm looking for a second. Second by Director Doman. Any discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we are on to the school board committee reports. We'll start with AMSD.
AMSD met on October 4th. Their next meeting is Friday, November 1st. At the October meeting, Dr. Rose Chu came and gave an update to us on the Elevate Teaching campaign, how that's going. And then 3 districts, Bloomington, Orono, and Hopkins, shared overviews of their legislative action committee work. The AMSD conference is coming up on November 14th. I'm hoping someone will be able to attend that. And mark your calendars for Day at the Capitol on March 24th.
March 24th. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next is MAIF. I will take that. And MAIF met last on Monday, October 21st. The highlights from MAIF, much of that was already shared with us tonight by Mara when she came and talked about the Fall Fund Drive, but I'll just reiterate those dates. The Fall Fund Drive being from October 27th to November 21st. We had a mission moment presentation where Allie Middlebrook and Lisa, help me so I don't say her last name wrong, Morardi, thank you. Came and talked about the Angel Fund and the backpack program and the care closets and the Mahtomedi area food shelf. There is, first of all, I'll start with the Angel Fund and backpack program. There's continued need across our district to support the backpack program and the Angel Fund. And also they gave a presentation about what the care closets looked like and all of the supplies and things that are collected for students that need those items. And we have a care closet at all 4 of our schools across the district. It was amazing to me when seeing that presentation to think about that they're not only asking for those donations, collecting all of that, organizing all of that, and also asking for what students need. So I don't believe that they would turn anybody down if somebody was looking to donate to the care closets. And so that was a great presentation by them to talk about, like, these are some of the new things put in place. And also it was mentioned that the care closets, and I'm not sure for the backpack food program. Barb, maybe you can help me. I know the Passages students help with the sorting and organizing and purchasing some of that. Did they do that for both of those or just for the care closets? Do you know?
No, they do it for
For
the
the
back.
backpack program, for the backpack program. Anyway, so that was, I thought, a great, sharing out of what kind of that whole process, not only from like going out and shopping, buying what they can get for the price, and the students are figuring out math problems and figuring out how they can get the most for their money and all of those resources and putting that together in that backpack program. Next, some of the things we already talked about, like I said, so I'll skip over those. The Mahtomedi Food Shelf Tree of Light Remembrance, if anybody is interested in attending that, where they read off list of names, people who have passed away, and you can make a donation on their behalf, is on December 6th at 6:30 p.m. And that is at what used to be called Triangle Park. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it now. Veterans Park. There we go. Makes a lot more sense to me now in my head. And then lastly, November 14th coming up, MAFE is offering an event called Wealth in Whiskey. So if you're wanting to find out more about finances and financial planning, that is November 14th. So that is all I have, because everything else at this point I think was covered for the MAFE report. So next, let's go on to MSBA.
I don't have much, just that there is a coffee and conversation next Tuesday morning from 8 to 9, and it's usually doesn't have topics ahead of time, but I know when we ended last time, people are going to want to start talking about legislative priorities in their district.
Okay, thank you. 9:16.
916 met on October 2nd. Their next meeting is November 6th, next week. I sent the notes out, but pretty much the last meeting was a lot of policy work and recognition of a gentleman who is retiring after 10 or more years.
Other board reports. Okay.
One, we had a city leaders meeting, and I think the thing to highlight from that is that Barb Parent, Mayor of Willerny, is retiring after 24 years as mayor, and Jeff Huber of Grant is also retiring as mayor. So it was an opportunity one last time to talk about city issues, mostly revolving around water. Whenever we get together and we talk about water and the White Bear Lake levels and other items. So, but also to recognize Barb and Jeff for all of their work. They've been great partners for us and regularly engaging with us in topics around what's going on in the district and how they can support us. So we definitely thank them for their service. I also have from Stacy, the district curriculum advisory notes. And really it was what we saw earlier with the World's Best Workforce. The district curriculum advisory met on the 10th and reviewed the required World's Best Workforce and Achievement and Integration report in depth. Also provided some feedback to Director Reichel about making it more meaningful to families and community, and also shared some possible future topics. So if anyone is interested in seeing the World's Best Workforce, it is up on our website, and we saw that this evening. So I think that's the main highlights from that committee.
Thank you. Any other reports? Okay. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Director Peterson. Looking for a second? Second by Director Donna. All those in favor, say aye.
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 We're adjourned.